Hello, everyone, and happy Monday. Super excited to be here. We got the God-given couple here. And you know what's funny? Every time we go on a live, Johnny will like whisper in my ear afterwards, being like, hey, I got the next segment. I'm like, write it down. And we didn't go directly towards this tonight, but it was something about how to deal with like a type A entrepreneur. I was like, okay, shots
facts.
fired, you know, geez.
Brilliant.
But it molded just a little bit more, and really diving in, as you can see in the caption, is should I date an entrepreneur? What does that look like? Diving into that, like what does that look like? Should I? Shouldn't I? Should you, like, not saying you should judge somebody if they're an entrepreneur, obviously, but at the end of the day, like, there are a lot of differences, you know, in how you choose to operate in life. Like, whether you work a 9 to 5, you're a CEO of your own company, you're a full-blown entrepreneur, like, there's so many different aspects to it. And I'm really excited to be able to jump into this because it's definitely, I've never been I can't say that. Let me back up here. I have been an entrepreneur full-time for the last 4 years. I would say in total almost 6, but before then I didn't even really understand what it was and how much freedom there is. But then also there's a lot of really good growth there too. So anyways, babe, I'm gonna let you fly with this because this was your topic of choice. And so I'm just along for the ride and chiming in whenever.
Tis indeed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your dog's favorite Kibble and Bits. This is Johnny and Molly coming
Hi,
at you hot. So the reason why I felt like this was important, and so this kind of applies to just about anything, whether it's solopreneur, entrepreneur, intrapreneur, all the newers, except manure. We don't like that. But what I'm
do. Sorry, go on.
So what I'm talking about here is that there's, and this goes across the board of just about anybody that has a high level of productivity or that is very ambitious. So that's kind of like a proxy for just about what we're going to talk about here. But what the main thing that I kind of focused on was the fact that discovering the relationship dynamic between Molly and I, we've discovered a lot about each other. Now, we've both grown a lot independently, but we've also had to grow together because there was a lot in between when it came to communication, to what we did for a living, and like all these different variables. So then when we came together, we're like, shoot, you're busy, so am I. Like, how do we actually make this thing work?
Right.
Because then we have to implement date nights. Well, then what does a date night look like?
Have to.
Well, like what? Wait, what?
He said we have to implement. We should.
Yeah, we have to, because then what happens is that we get caught up in the monotony of client work. So it's just like, hey, are we still on for date night? We have a movie schedule, we have a date schedule. Oh shoot, this client ended up hitting me up last night. This is gonna be a groundbreaking deal. We need to make this happen because it's gonna have a huge financial impact on our family. Are we really gonna risk not doing that for a date night? So then we have to talk about values. So it's far more than just the little things in between timing, communication, things like that. It's your underlying values. And
then as an entrepreneur, before you go on, for those that aren't, a lot of my feed, you guys obviously are, so you understand the dynamics, but you're not working a 9 to 5. You could be working from like 5 a.m.
I'm not working a 9 to 5.
Yeah, whoa, I was like, you okay
Sorry,
over there?
I'm a little lit right now.
Oh, you might be working from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. You might be working 15-hour days. You might be working 7 days a week. Like, as an entrepreneur, there's no days off because you don't have the coddling, and I'm going to say that you don't have the coddling of someone's going to take care of your health insurance. You get paid this amount every Friday, every other Friday, whatever.
Life insurance like not that long ago.
Yeah, we just did the biggest adult move when we first got married. We're like, we're gonna get like a real deal life insurance, because when it comes out of pocket, that stuff's not cheap. It's like $400 a person, but at the end of the day, it's important. So there's certain things where you can have time freedom, but it takes time to build that up and be able to solve enough people's solutions at a price point that's sustainable for you to be able to have that type of freedom. So at the end of the day, the whole point of an entrepreneur, or the point I'm trying to make about being an entrepreneur, is that there's no set schedule.
Absolutely.
Like Monday through Friday, I get up at 4:30. Do you think I naturally want to get up at 4:30? No,
Nope.
but I know getting up at 4:30, gym at 5, and starting off the day, gym, devotions, whatever, and then getting into my day, I have to do that because I have to set my mind right, because there's a lot more you have to take on than I ever did when I was in corporate America, when I was a news anchor. So anyways, just setting that framework right there. So all my entrepreneurs, Put hashtag entrepreneur in the chat if you're an entrepreneur. I'd love to be able to see how many people are entrepreneurs in there. Or hashtag 9 to 5 if you still work a 9 to 5. Either way, whatever pays the bills, whatever you're happy with doing, that's what matters. But back to the entrepreneurship conversation. Just had to set that.
So what's crazy is that I was actually, before hopping on here, I was looking at this article that was, I think, by The Balance, thebalance.com, something like that. You type in The Balance. It's like a huge like research news outlet, whatever. Like they cover a lot of topics. And one of them was actually about relationships and the entrepreneurial relationships and how most of them actually fail. There was a statistic done as to what entails that statistic. I have no idea, but they basically wrapped it up in saying 70% of entrepreneurial couples fail. Now, that does not surprise me at all because and this is going to sound really strange, but I say this very cautiously, is that it does make sense because majority of entrepreneurs by nature are selfish. And what I mean by that is that everything that entails an entrepreneur revolves around them. It has to. Because, unless another person comes in and then becomes either a subject of serving that person or collaborates with that person. Because everything that you do has to revolve around a spontaneous schedule. Finances, you don't know where the hell it's going, where the hell it's coming from, and sometimes it's just everything's everywhere sometimes. And so balance is like non-existent. Life, work, family, clients, we might as well all live in the same house and share, majority of the things together. Like it just, sometimes everything just does not make sense. At least if you're in the starting phase. If you're one of those rich dudes that got Bentleys for days and has mansions and hoes in different area codes, by all means, you may have things established. Hey, I learned from the great philosopher Nate Dogg.
He just loves rhyming and being a fool, so go on.
Nate Dogg was single-handedly one of the best philosophers of our time.
Anyways, keep going.
Regulator. No, we're not even gonna go there. So basically what I'm getting at is that unless you're one of those like established entrepreneurs and then now you're just trying to figure out like life and like all the finances and everything like that are set, I don't know, like you got a special kind of problems. But what I'm saying though is that there are a couple different variables that come into play when having, I think, a good successful relationship dynamic in between entrepreneurs, whether both people are very entrepreneurial and have both ventures going, or one's got something going and then maybe like another person's got like a nursing job or like whatever. I've actually seen the spectrum of a lot of different relationship couples. Babe, do you have anything to say?
No, keep going. I think
cool.
you're in the middle of a thought. I'll interrupt when need be.
Yeah. So what's cool is that I've worked a lot with couples who are entrepreneurial married couples who both work in maybe two different industries or maybe two different companies within the same industry. And it's actually really interesting finding out, how they operate together. They have to have a strong scheduling system. They have to have strong communication. Some of them have kids. Something's got to give. So there's like a lot of like give and take, a lot of like compromise, a lot of like promises that sometimes need to be bent or broken at times. But it's okay though, because the life of an entrepreneurial relationship, or much less an entrepreneur, is one that's geared towards a more longevity, not just
vision.
It's not like it's more based on the future, not just the present. So if we have to do a couple things that are uncomfortable and we have to, break family promises and we have to skip a couple birthdays.
Oh, I see what you're getting at. Like flexibility. Flexibility. Yeah, I'll tell you what, we've talked about this so many times on this show. My flexibility with my husband right here, sheesh. Like, we jumped on this thing 2 minutes past the hour, talk about A-type entrepreneur. I'm like, babe, we said 6 p.m. Pacific time. It is 6:02. You are killing me. Every time he hits 6:01, I don't know how to set up this camera. Guess what I get to be? Flexible. Drives me insane. However, this was what was great, and I know this is going to lead into another part of this, communication, which is really big, because he'll show up late to a lot of things, and it drove me insane. I'm like, babe, time management, I need you to have that because that is so important to me. Like when I say we're leaving the house at 6, like leaving at 6, it's not 6:15, it's not 6:20. I'll give the grace period to 6:05. Call me whatever you want to call me. That's just how I work. Boom, boom, boom. But then when he described this to me, when he's stuck editing videos with his clients, I remember when I was in the news and I had to edit video, you get lost in that. When you get in a creative, or you get in a mode where time just does not matter, you just flow with it because you have to when you're in that mode. You guys all know what I mean. We all have had those family time, creative time, whatever that is for you. When he told me, he's like, babe, like an hour feels like minutes to me and just goes by like that when I'm working on a project. I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking, like, how can I have more grace for my husband rather than wanting to rip his head off because he's late all the time? Because as an entrepreneur and him in his own business, like when he gets that creative flush, he just has to roll with it. And sometimes he's up from like midnight to 7 a.m. in that creative mode. I wouldn't want to be up from midnight to 7 a.m., but he knows that's what it takes for him to get into that. Point being, when we translate that into personal life, since we're two entrepreneurs, we work together in the same home because, you know, basically Governor Newsom has us on house arrest. We all know the feeling. And then, you know, going outside, we really can't go anywhere but the grocery store. So we're constantly in the same environment, showing that grace of like, okay, we're in home working and personal constantly. Not giving you an excuse as to you should make the shift because you get to, but I understand like like shifting out of that mode can be kind of difficult sometimes, and the concept of time is different for him than it is for me. I run on a clock. Like the clock tells me it's time to do this, it's time to do this, it's time to do this. Like that's how I operate. Communication is key because I needed to understand, where's Johnny coming from? Why is he always showing up late? He's not doing it to piss me off. He's not doing it to hurt me.
Sometimes I do get a thrill in pissing
He's
her off.
not doing it to really get under my skin. It's one of those things he gets to learn, and we get to communicate like, why is this really happening? And then as his wife, how do I get to help you to make that shift? Do I gotta yell at you? Do I gotta get upset? Do I gotta sleep on the couch? Do I gotta, like, what do I get to do? Obviously I won't do any of those things. I choose to have some kind of grace and understanding because that's what Jesus has for us. Like imagine like if God looked at us all the time being frustrated, like, I can't believe, and he created everything. And like, but he doesn't, he has love, compassion, and grace. And that's what we get to choose to do with other people. So as two entrepreneurs in the communication sector, like that is so important. Cause like you said, it's like selfish in a sense. It's all about us. And I'll tweak that a little bit where it's not all about us as an entrepreneur, it's about our mission. True. It's about what we get to do for other people because there's a reason why you became an entrepreneur, for your product, for your service, for your team, whatever that may be, to go against the grain of your family. I don't know what it is, but there's a mission involved. And when you have two people, luckily our missions collide, which is really great.
It really is, though. And
that's where this whole conversation comes together because not everybody's going to have a mission collide like we do. That really helped us in our relationship, being engaged in our marriage and everything. But I'm going to let you take it from here and talk about the other communication pieces because you might be watching this being like, I'm single. Should I or shouldn't I date another entrepreneur? How would that look from you?
I think one of the things that, for me at least, I'm gonna see if I could just like put this image up real quick. I'm like really, like we're navigating this new program. And so I wanna see if this actually works. It'd be really cool if it did. Is this little image right here. Date added. Is it this right here?
That's it.
That's super dope.
Does
this actually work?
It will. This is just a little delay, so just move it so it's out of, like put it in the corner.
What? That'd be super cool if it did.
Just put it in the corner.
Hold on. Does it work?
We have a delay. We're watching on our phone and looking at this. Just keep talking whether it works or not.
It does.
There it is. It just popped up.
Whoa, that's crazy.
All
Guys,
right.
This is wild. This is new. This is groundbreaking technology here.
People are going to ask what this app is. Don't put it in the middle.
Hide overlay. There you go. That's super cool. So what's super cool is that I wish I could like shrink it.
Don't get picky. It works, okay?
Yeah, facts. But anyways, so I ended up like looking at this image, and it's so funny because when you look at this image at face value, you get to see it's like a whole like peak and valley. It's like an up and down. It's like this is exactly what you're stepping into. If you look at this map, if you were to look at this like little chart, and then look at somebody that you're interested in dating who has like that life of an entrepreneur or whatever, like surely you have to see whether or not like you're willing to climb this mountain, because it's sure as hell not going to work if you're not interested in going to navigate that life. And so as I was researching this more and more, and as I was like kind of like looking into this, one of the most paramount things that you have to understand is the intentions, just like Justin Bieber said it, hands down. Intentions is single-handedly the most important part because you have to think longevity. What is my intention? Is my intention dating or going out with somebody who's ambitious, who has like this like really like grasp for life, that wants more than just single-handedly the 9 to 5, that maybe wants to just go out and do more, accomplish more, maybe, you know, seek out a better life for our family. You know, maybe we can live, like, we can have an opportunity to live in one of our favorite places by the beach in a mansion. Who knows?
I like that.
Like, you know, let's take a chance. That's one thing. Or if you want to just wait it out and wait for somebody to bankroll your lifestyle, maybe that's what you're into too. But expectations has a huge part, especially when it works in tandem with intentions, because then if you're expecting things to work out, what if they don't? Or is your expectation banking on that relationship? And if not, then, you know, if things don't work out with this business, or something doesn't work out with that venture of being an entrepreneur, and, you know, things go south, then that's the end of the relationship, because your expectations obviously weren't met, and then now you get to dip. You know,
I remember when we first started, or before we started dating, and I first joined up with the Dream Factory, Johnny's brother, who's the CEO of our company, goes, he goes, Johnny, don't mess this up, because if you mess this up, Molly just got here. And I remember him telling me that, I think after we got engaged, or maybe like when we were seriously dating, or maybe it was even at our wedding, at our reception. Regardless, I was laughing because I'm like, no pressure, you know what I mean? But I usually never typically date where I work, just because, like, for that instance. But when it's God ordained, he's going to see it through, I'll tell you that. And it definitely was God ordained. So go ahead, Boo. I know you got a couple more things.
Okay, so another thing is respect. Now, it's one thing. Now, relationships, I think, for the most part, are far from just one-dimensional. They are very much one person, both people, and the same thing, that are striving for something, you know, in life. But like I said in the beginning, entrepreneurs are kind of, and I say entrepreneurs like as a blanket statement for other things like solopreneurs, contractors, people that basically work off of their own merit, that literally have to go out and hunt. They are like they're not like, yeah, it's exactly what it sounds. They're literally hunting for their own food. And so you have to understand that there's a particular mindset that belongs to that. And so with that, there's a lot of pressure. So if we're responsible for essentially hunting and then also eating and making sure that everything that's within our covering is provided for, there's a lot of pressure that goes in there.
A lot of stress, yeah.
And so the last thing that somebody wants to hear is they're doing something wrong. And I don't say that from the standpoint that, you know, an entrepreneur or dating somebody who's an entrepreneur can never be corrected. They can never be like, you know, get, you know, feedback.
Well, they can. It just depends on their ego and where that lies. So you got to be able to drop the ego, drop the pride, especially when you don't have, you know, I mean, we've created a consistent income. Don't get me wrong, but we've also had months where you're like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? You know what I mean? So it's, I mean, just to be fully honest, but yeah, having that respect of, like, you know, me as a woman, I've had these thoughts before. As Johnny, as my husband, I'm like, okay, babe, like, you're the man, why don't you provide? Skirt, we're in 2020 and we live in California. Like, it is rare, unless you live in Newport Coast, which is basically like a multi-million dollar neighborhood off the coast of Newport, that maybe there's a one income household. At the end of the day, like, it's pretty common. And I have to check those thoughts, because even when we're having those hard times, it's like, oh, society says blah, blah, blah. But it's like having the grace. My husband's doing the best that he can. Vice versa. He knows I'm doing the best I can in my position, and we make it work. We figure it out, and we always do. Why? Because even as an entrepreneur, there's stress in there, but you also, with higher stress, you got to raise the level of faith. I've never been more ingrained in the word, in making sure every morning I have that nourishment in my mind, in my heart, and in my body. Sorry, dinner's almost done. That's our reminder. We got about 10 more minutes here.
See, we over here doing a live. I'm over here on client calls. She over here cooking.
Oh, it smells great. I'll tell you that. We got some Costco steak up in there. So anyways, point being is you got to have that grace, and you got to have that faith for sure as an entrepreneur, because that, you know, Satan can get in there being like, you're not doing your thing. You're not doing your thing. I see you doing this. I see you doing that. Blah, blah, blah. Like, can you turn that off, please? Yeah, so like sometimes, like I said, Johnny will work from like midnight to 7 a.m. and then he'll sleep during the day. And any average person would be like, man, he's lazy. He's sleeping during the day, like from like, 10 to 2 or whatever. But they didn't see he was up from midnight to 7 grinding. And so you got to have that respect and know there's not going to be maybe normal hours or normal date nights or really normal anything because we did not choose the normal path.
I want to say this is that kind of going along the same line of like respect. There's a huge book. There's actually a great book out there. If any of you guys are bookworms, or maybe you guys are audiophiles, maybe you guys just like kind of like cruising down listening while you're driving. You want to hear something like a book or educational content. There's a book out there called Love and Respect, and it's solely predicated on the simple fact that, and I have it down on my notes right here. It says wives are meant to love, are made to love, want to love, and expect to love. Husbands are made to be respected, want respect, and expect respect. When a husband feels disrespected, it is especially hard to love his wife. When a wife feels unloved, it is especially hard to respect her husband. So right off the jump, there's always going to be this dynamic between a man and a woman, not entrepreneur versus somebody that's maybe employed or something like that. There's always going to be this human aspect to the fact that Molly's a woman and I'm a man. There's always going to be different ways we respond and correspond to the ways we treat each other and how she wants to be loved and how I want to be respected, not only as a female and a man, but just as human beings. And so there's this constant navigation of how we look at each other and how we respond. But it's crucial to understand that at the fundamental level, there has to be love and respect and appreciation for both of each other. Because if you're engaging in just in a relationship solely off of ambition and solely off of what each other's passions are, it's almost like putting sugar in a gas tank. It's actually not gonna do anything, as a matter of fact.
It's probably gonna ruin the car.
Yeah, it seems like a good idea, but then it's just like at the end of the day, it's not gonna go very far. Because really, just like we've talked about communication, compassion, a lot of these different variables, they play a huge part in the way you guys work in tandem in a relationship. Let's say Malls had a job as a nurse. Actually, one of my first clients, he was a great internet marketer, but his wife was a nurse, right? She had her own schedule, but one of the biggest things is she was actually a huge supporter, and if anything, one of his biggest backbones to supporting that whole entire family and making sure everything was stable. She had stability, she had income, they were good. So in case anything happened to him, he had off months, whatever, they were still covered. But she would still cook, she would still clean, she would still take care of the baby. Why? Because his mind was in a million different places. He had clients, he had teammates, he had a whole team to facilitate. You can't always do the everyday thing. So it's crucial for us as a team to communicate, to make sure like, hey, if I'm not able to cook dinner, maybe she's available to cook dinner, and vice versa. If we're not able to make family functions, maybe she can go, but I can't. Maybe I have to stay back. So there's always going to be this dance as to whether or not we can do something about something, about whether or not like we can make something happen when the other person can't. So being able to work in tandem like that is crucial. And so kind of going back to the respect aspect of things, is that you have to understand is that when dating somebody who's especially ambitious and maybe entrepreneurial, wants to go towards something, they're going against the grain of everything that they've been taught. They're constantly pivoting, reverse engineering, innovating, doing something. And I'm talking about the real entrepreneur. I'm not talking about the dude that just makes money and then smokes weed and then, does Postmates or whatever. Like, I'm talking about somebody that's actually going somewhere. And so, I mean, facts. Like, it's just like, it's not the same playing field. It's that you have to understand is that there has to be grace in the failings when that person can't live up to your expectations.
Yeah.
And you have to know when to support and maybe even when to lovingly correct and be like, babe, listen, I know you're on your entrepreneurial shit, but my bad, is that I know you're on your grind, but you still need to make time to love me. I'm not a robot. I'm not somebody that you just put away in your closet until you're ready to play with.
I felt that.
You know what I mean? But it's just like so many people think, and so
that's good. And Matthew even said it, just to go along with that, it's very important to have a supportive spouse, man or woman. Because even there's sometimes where Johnny has to hang back and I'll go hang out with his family, because he's busy working on a project. And they'll be like, oh, Johnny's working on a project again. I'm like, well, I mean, shoot, like, yeah, my babe's working hard and he needs to go do his thing. And then there's a time where it's like, hey, have good time management. You know we're going to have family time. Make sure we can make this happen at all possible. Like, we're going to go to my family's place in 2 weeks for Christmas. And I said, no work, period, point blank, period. Ain't nobody working during Christmas. Like, give yourself a break. We'll see if he follows through. To be continued.
That's another point, though, is that when let's say your partner's under scrutiny because of the life that they live or because of their occupation and things like that, is your partner going to be understanding, and if anything, your sidekick when it comes to communicating to other people and defending you? Because then if you have one of those relationship dynamics where, you know, family's constantly like, you know, bombarding you like, oh, why is he always working? Does he not care about family? You know, who the hell is this guy? Like, why are you even with him? He obviously doesn't care to make time for us. It's just like, no, that's not the case. It's the fact that we're making critical moves to ensure that we're setting ourselves up for success. It may not look like that now, but maybe it doesn't.
10, 15, 20 years is going to make a difference.
Yeah, so then I'm making the sacrifices with family now, so then that way I can for sure have it in the future. So it's like, but again, to the relational dynamic, are they coming to your defense to making sure that they're sticking up for them when, you know, things are a little bit tough?
Ride or die. Question.
Ride and live.
Before we move on, because we're at the 30-minute mark, I like to be respectful of people's time, and I also know people like to digest not super long forms of content. He brought this up.
In church.
He brought this up. No, come on though, but seriously. I think we should save this
Can't
for
put a
part
time
2.
on this.
I think we should save this for part 2
Hands
for
up if
next
you guys
Monday.
want like a part 2 or something more in depth.
I do.
Let us really know.
Because we could really, there's a good another chunk for this. I say, babe, we wait till next Monday. Give them a little cliffhanger. There's more to this. All my entrepreneurs, which I know I saw a lot of you in the chat, if you did not put hashtag entrepreneur in there, and you are one, let us know because we'd love to see it. But I think we should save this for a part 2. Reason being is then we can have like, it's really good and digestible, babe. Trust me.
Facaroons.
Are you cool with that?
I am indeed.
Okay. Also, that food is smelling real good back there.
It
Matthew
really is,
said,
though.
save us a plate. Bro, you're already on the East Coast. That is going to be gone by the time you fly over here. But hey, you know what? We'll let you know what we got from Costco. Just go on by, pick it up. But anyways, you guys, we appreciate you. We thank you so much for joining us. We love being able to come on here. And for all my entrepreneurs out there, or people even thinking about dating one, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of joy, a lot of faith, a lot of growth. Like, there's so much that's in it. That's why I don't feel like we can pack it all into one, because there's so much more.
Facts.
And we'd love for you guys to join in the conversation. So if you have anything you want to add or any questions or anything, drop those in the comments too, because we're going to have a part 2 next week, this coming Monday. So we love you guys. Babe, anything else you want to say before we...
I would say my endings are always long, so be prepared for another 30 minutes, because you all know this church. So I will say this, is that everything, again, stems from the heart and a level of sense of self-awareness. And so if at all you think maybe it's going to be a good idea to date an ambitious person, or maybe, you know, it just sounds good because you're dating somebody that's like, you know, it sounds like aesthetically good, or just like it sounds impressive, just understand that there's a lot of peaks and valleys that entail that kind of lifestyle, because nothing is according to schedule. Commitments sometimes are little to none because we have to be very fluid. You know, things change. There's always going to be different climates and different seasons. So just be encouraged by the fact that if that is something that you're looking forward to, just know that there's going to be a lot of sacrifice within that. And
it's not all bad.
It's not.
It's not cut out. It's not for everybody. I'll tell you that. It's definitely not for everybody. But there's a lot of blessings. And if you have no idea what it's even like to be an entrepreneur, if you had questions, drop those in the chat too. I smell something burning. Keep going. I'm broiling this right now. Oh, dear God. Let's hope it's not on fire.
Anyways, we're about to end this now. So, love you guys.
And we're good. No smoke.
Till
Woo!
next week, the God-given couple. Love y'all bunches.
Bye.
Bye-bye.